All right, today we are going to start to read chapter 3 of James and the Giant Peach. So if you remember, we started James. He just lost his mom and his dad, and he's been living with his awful, horrible, wretched aunt, Spiker and Sponge, for 3 years. So let's see if anything changes and see what happens, because the book is called James and the Giant Peach. So I think at some point we're probably going to find out a giant peach, right? All right, chapter 3. It was at this point that the first thing of all, the rather peculiar thing that led to so many other much peculiar things, happened to him. For suddenly, just behind him, James heard a rustling of leaves, and he turned around and saw an old man in a funny dark green suit emerging from the bushes. He was a very small old man, but he had a huge bald head and a face that was covered all over with bristly black whiskers. He stopped when he was about 3 yards away, and he stood there leaning on his stick and staring hard at James. Then when he spoke, his voice was very slow and creaky. "Come closer to me, little boy," he said, beckoning James with a finger. "Come right up close to me, and I will show you something wonderful." James was too frightened to move. The old man hobbled a step or two nearer, and then he put his hand into the pocket of his jacket, and he took out a small white paper bag. "You see this?" he whispered, waving the bag gently to and fro in front of James's face. "You know what this is, my dear? Do you know what's inside of this little bag?" Then he came nearer still, leaning forward and pushing his face so close to James that James could feel breath blowing on his cheeks. The breath smelled musty and stale and slightly mildewed, like the air in an old cellar. "Take a look, my dear," he said, opening the bag and tilting it toward James. Inside it, James could see a mass of tiny green things that looked like little stones or crystals, each one about the size of a grain of rice. They were extraordinarily beautiful, and there was a strange brightness about them, a sort of luminous quality that made them glow and sparkle in the most wonderful way. "Listen to them," the old man whispered. "Listen to them move." James stared into the bag, and sure enough, there was a faint rustling sound coming up from inside of it. And then he noticed that all the thousands of little green things were slowly, very, very slowly stirring about and moving over each other as if they were alive. "There's more power and magic in those things in there than in all of the rest of the world put together," the old man said softly. But what are they?" James murmured, finding his voice at last. "Where do they come from?" "Aha!" the old man whispered. "You'll never guess that." He was crouching a little now and pushing his face still closer and closer to James until the tip of his long nose was actually touching the skin on James's forehead. Then suddenly he jumped back and began waving his stick madly in the air. "Crocodile tongues!" he cried. 1,000 long, slimy crocodile tongues boiled up in the skull of the dead witch for 20 days and nights, with the eyeballs of a lizard, and the fingers of a young monkey, and the gizzard of a pig, and the beak of a green parrot, and the juice of a porcupine, and 3 spoonfuls of sugar. Stew for another week, and then let the moon do the rest." "I don't know if he knows what he's talking about." All at once, he pushed the white paper bag into James's hands and said, "Here, you take it. It's yours." Let's read chapter 4, because I think chapter 3 was a little short. Chapter 4. James Henry Trotter stood there, clutching the bag and staring at the old man. "And now," the old man said, "all you've got to do is this. Take a large jug of water and pour all the little green things into it. Then very slowly, one by one, add 10 hairs from your own head. That sets them off. It gets them going. In a couple of minutes, the water will begin to froth and bubble furiously, and as soon as that happens, you must quickly drink it all down, the whole jug full, in one gulp. And then, my dear, you will feel it churning and boiling in your stomach, and steam will start coming out of your mouth. And immediately after that, marvelous things will start happening to you. Fabulous, unbelievable things. And you will never be miserable again in your life. Because you are miserable, aren't you? You needn't tell me. I know all about it. Now, off you go and do exactly as I say. And don't whisper a word of this to those two horrible aunts of yours. Not a word. And don't let those green things get in there. Green things in there get away from you either. Because if they do escape, then they will be working their magic upon somebody else instead of upon you. And that isn't what you wanted at all, is it, my dear? Whoever they meet first, be it bug, insect, or animal or tree, that will be the one who gets the full power of their magic. So hold the bag tight. Don't tear the paper. Off you go. Hurry up. Don't wait. Now's the time. Hurry. And with that, the old man turned away and disappeared into the bushes. So there is James, standing, staring at the bag, looking very much confused as to what he's supposed to be doing. And that is where we are going to stop for today. All right, so we just finished chapter 3 and chapter 4. And tomorrow, we will begin chapter 5. All right, guys, have a good night.